Welcome back to the EAHC podcast. This is episode number 14. It's me, Josh, again, and I am joined today by CJ.
Hello.
So me and CJ wanted to get this out as early as possible so that it's somewhat relevant to when you guys will be hearing it. Yesterday we had a new shiny book with some new shiny toys come out. And it's War in Rohan. CJ's had it since midnight, and I've had it since about I think it's about 10 a.m. yesterday. He's probably read it more than I have because I had a 12-hour shift at work. But regardless, we're going to be discussing this book and the potential new lists you might see in the meta somewhat. And we're going to go through the scenarios and, just see what our initial thoughts are. And CJ's probably have more than me because, again, he's read it and I really haven't had much time to look at it yet. Anyway, I quickly want to do some podcast pluggy stuff because I feel like it's necessary while I've got some of you here listening and not right at the end. Today, when we're recording this, it's actually Katie's birthday. Katie, if you don't know, is my fiance. What I'd just like you all to do, she won't see this otherwise, but if there's enough comments of it, I'll show her and she'll feel special. So if we could all just put in the comment section, happy birthday, Katie. And I'd really appreciate that, guys. And just leave a like on the pod. Any comments you want to add regarding our initial review and anything you might have seen that we haven't, because quite often if you guys have read it more than we have at this point, then you'll probably see some stuff that we haven't seen. So yeah, happy birthday, Katie. Leave a like. And as I say, this is episode 14. So
this is probably going to be the last podcast before Christmas as well. So
yeah, quite possibly. I think it's going to be very difficult to get everyone. I know I'm going away to see family next week, and it probably will be the last one before Christmas. So I guess we should just say happy Christmas, guys. Have a good holidays season. And if you get lots of nice toys, you can also put them in the comment section because I'm sure we all will be getting some sort of toys for Christmas. Mm-hmm. Where should we start then? Where would you like to start?
To begin at the beginning. Well,
as you open,
it's quite a big book, isn't it?
A nice picture of Theoden. You get a contents page and the introduction, which is kind of the same to all of the Middle-earth books at this point. And then you get a pretty good, interesting history of Rohan and the tale of the years, which is kind of like a timeline of Rohan. So it's all quite nice, fluffy stuff, a bit of an in-depth look at Middle-earth, as it were. And then you go straight into the scenarios. Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we was going to have Sam join us, but he had some mic issues. And I know that he's been playing through the Gondor at War scenarios this year. And I imagine quite a few of us have discussed perhaps doing an assault on Edoras with the upcoming Dunland horde that seems to be dominating our group chat at the moment. So I'm sure Sam will probably play through some of these scenarios, much like he did with the Gondor at War ones. We're not going to go through every single scenario, but there is quite a few of them.
There are 21 in the main campaign, and then there are 4 in the appendices. And the first one is actually something I was kind of hoping for a Legendary Legion for, which is the burning of the Westfold. Because I've thought for a while that you could get some interesting mechanics out of fire, like potentially if Dunland had the ability to set terrain pieces ablaze, then that could impact things like Fog of War. You want to take that terrain piece, okay, take strength, whatever hit every turn because it's on fire. You do reconnoiter, and then you can strategically block off areas and force people into choke points, all that kind of stuff. You could do interesting things like that. So in my East Anglia tournament event in July next year, shameless plug, I am introducing one of the match play scenarios with a twist where we get bonus points for burning down your enemy's board half, basically. And the initial draft of that, the feedback I got was people might find this a bit difficult because I had where you could have a certain number of people from each side try and put the thing on fire in a certain number, try and put it out at the same time. But what this scenario very helpfully has done, has basically said, well, here's a set of rules for a scenario where you're trying to set terrain pieces on fire. So yeah, that works out great for me. I can just say, see page 11 in War at Rohan for... So for here, we've got things like a Dunlending model that ends its move-in-base contact with a Rohan house, may set it alight on a 5+. And at the same time, a good model in contact with the house may attempt to put it out on a 6. But if they roll a 1, then it burns down. You're that bad at firefighting that you actually poured petrol on it. So that's a great little first scenario. Then it moves on to the Fords of Eisen, which a lot of people have pointed out is actually like 8 battles over a long period. But this book puts it into 2 main scenarios. So we've got the first one, which is Theodred, Elfhelm, and Grimbold, the standard ones from the Legendary Legion that we'll discuss later. And then on the evil side is my boy Vrazku, who's been overlooked for the Legendary Legions, but he gets a nice run out here, along with Thryden, some Scouties, some Wargs, and some Dunlendings. I'm talking a lot, so you want to mention anything?
No, it's okay. The participants are fairly even. Quite a lot of Scouts, which is good for the evil side. Good sort of mixture of war gear and whatnot. You get some Warg Riders. I think it looked quite fun. I'd actually quite like to play that.
Mm-hmm.
Thryden's in there, Vrasku. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So this one's about the evil player trying to infiltrate the other side of the board, and then you get Elfhelm and his reinforcements come and try and save Theodred and Grimbold. Should be an entertaining little variation. Again, this is actually quite similar to one of the adjusted scenarios I was going to run. So actually I'm taking a lot of inspiration out of this, a lot of useful rules. Yeah. Okay, and then it moves swiftly on to the second battle, which is by and large the same stuff, except that...
You lose Vrasku.
We lose Vrasku, and we have lost Theodred. Oh, no.
Oh, but Thryden's still there, so... Mm-hmm. That's quite interesting. I guess maybe because all the scenarios, I guess you could link them.
Yep,
so
there is a nice campaign. Evil also picks up Gurulf Ironskin.
He's new. We'll talk about him later. Mm-hmm. Actually, you were quite underwhelmed from your initial reaction, I remember, but I've looked at his profile too, and I was like, it's okay. Mm-hmm. But we will talk about him later in a little bit more detail.
We've got the second battle of Fords of Eisen. Then we move on to Ambush at Night, which is all about Éomer rescuing the hobbits.
So this is the scene in the Two Towers where obviously you see the Uruks and the Orcs arguing a little bit, and then they all get absolutely trampled, is the best way to put it, I suppose. It's pretty cool. Éomer is in there, Marshal of the Riddermark, Meriadoc, Brandybuck, Peregrine Took, Captain of Rohan, 12 riders, and 3 outriders. So then you get Ugluk, Mahur, Grishnak, Snaga, 12 scouts, and that's it. Yeah. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very one-sided.
That appears to me immediately to be, that's a lot of might for the evil side compared
there is
to
a lot
the good
of might.
side.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that is true.
Heroic move-offs. Basically, Rohan's going to have to do a lot of damage quite early on.
Yeah, that initial Rohan charge has got to do a lot, hasn't it?
Mm.
You do get throwing spears and bows, so...
Mm-hmm.
And then moving on, we have Grishnak's End. So, again, the scene in the film where you have Merry and Pippin running away from Grishnak, and then Treebeard smushes him. So, this one involves picture cards, and an injured Grishnak. So, again, we're not going to go through these in full detail. If you have the book and you want to play through the campaign, let us know how you get on. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we probably will play through a few scenarios in a friendly EAHC, much like we did with the Corsair one with the Army of the Dead and Aragorn and Legolas Gimli. That was good fun. So the next scenario is the White Wizard, which again uses playing cards. It's not something that I'm familiar with SBG wise. Have you had much?
It's one of the scenarios in Gondor at War, which revolves around the Witch King fighting Eowyn and Merry. So that uses playing cards, and now they've taken that mechanic and developed it a bit.
Okay, it's an interesting idea. I've never done it. I've never played the scenario. So.
Mm-hmm. So this represents the struggle between Gandalf the White and Saruman over Theoden's mind.
Yeah.
Then we get Warg Attack. Yeah.
Which, obviously, with Warg Attack, I guess we can talk about very quickly some of the models that got re-released.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, you can get Sharku on foot and on Warg back together again, which I'm very happy about because it's a model that I've wanted for a long time. Haven't ordered it yet, so I'm hoping it's still there. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. There is now a legendary legion for Sharku's Wolves, which has loads of quite nice mechanics, which we'll get into in a bit. There is no legion for the good side of this, which could have been something they could have used for the Theoden Rides Out as well. But as it stands, the only way
Rohan's got the most legendary legions ever. So
yeah, there's like six or seven now, isn't there? But
there's quite a few.
Yeah, so there's no current way to have Theoden, Legolas, Aragorn, Gamling, whoever mounted together as a sort of riding out force. So that would be a Yellow Alliance.
The scenario also allows you to have Gimli as a passenger.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes, we can.
Hey! All I had to do was download it on bloody phone.
Hello.
Hi, Sam.
That better?
Yep. We're doing scenarios.
Yeah, I could hear you, just couldn't get my voice in because the only one that worked was ironically the one that was shit.
Sam's joined us, everyone. We had some technical issues, but Sam's going to join us. We're on Warg Attack.
Cool. Oh, it's good. Like I said, I've been able to hear you, and there you go, CJ. Giving you lots of editing work to do now.
You might get this. You might get this a little bit later. There's already a lot to edit. So from Warg Attack, we go on to Raise the Ladders, which I'm guessing is the start of the Battle for Helm's Deep.
Yep.
We won't go through all the participants, but again, I mean, we were just saying, Sam, you obviously could hear but wasn't speaking. You've been playing through the Gondor at War scenarios. Yeah. Do you have a plan to play through these scenarios as well? Because you've got quite a lot of the participants, don't you, in your collection?
I've got a lot of it, yeah. It's got I think the main problem is just going to be getting time with people, and that's similar to Gondor at War. Everyone's got things, it's just a matter of getting people to do it. And if anyone's listening and they want to play through some of them, just let me know, and I'll let you know when I can do it.
There you go. I'd love to actually film some of these. I think if we did a big assault on Edoras, I'd love to film it and put it on the channel. I think that would be really good.
Well, me and Tom have been really sticking to Kieran for the last few days, so I'm sure that will happen at some point.
Yeah, you have actually. That's true. So from Raise the Ladders, we move on to the Walls of Helm's Deep. So again, you're just playing through the end of the Two Towers, some of the most iconic fight scenes in Peter Jackson's films, especially with Haldir and the Berserkers. And I think it's really cool. It's really cool that you can play through all these scenarios in such detail, as it were. Moving on from that, we've got Plant the Charges. So again, it's the scene where Legolas, the best shooter in Middle-earth, can't shoot someone. Well, he does shoot him, to be fair, but
maybe very fitting if I rolled for Legolas in this one.
That is like you rolling to wound, isn't it, Sam?
3 dice, and he a single 5 or 6 to might it, and we got 4 highest.
Yeah, so again, it's the scene where the Berserker's running through, gets shot twice, still manages to blow the bomb up, and the wall goes to Plowy. The Deeping Wall is breached, so you've got Aragorn with his Galadriel elves in that sort of very iconic, we can swipe away pikes with our sword scene, which still hurts me to think about sometimes, but yeah, you can apparently. Probably going to get some hate for that. Retreat to the Hornburg. Again, it's the part in the film where they are retreating to the Hornburg. It's quite self-explanatory, guys. I mean, if you've got the book, you can.
I assume this is where Haldir goes down as well, and the scenario in
is
the
he a
campaign.
Participant? He is a participant. So yeah, I guess if you're linking it, he could actually survive potentially. If you is that how linking the scenarios works? It is, isn't it?
As far as I'm aware, he's going to go down in this one because it's around this point like Aragorn goes run up the stairs and sees him get mauled.
I mean, he in terms of his participation in the campaign, obviously he's probably not going to feature anymore, but he could potentially live, depending on how your games go.
Trust me, if I'm playing evil, he'll live. Not only will he live, he'll kill everything.
Haldir will just kill all the army himself. We then have the causeway, and this is quite a cool scenario. It's the part where Aragorn tosses Gimli onto the causeway, is what it's called. So, again, I think that's quite cool that they've added that in there. It is literally just Aragorn and Gimli versus 20 Uruks, 10 with sword, 10 with pike. I mean, Aragorn and Gimli should win that, realistically, but dice are dice, so...
That seems like a nice little one you can knock out in half an hour, doesn't it?
Yeah, very quick. I mean, literally, you could kill 12 models.
Turns, 22 models, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they keep coming back, so 20 Uruks, ordinarily isn't a problem. You just get, how many turns is it? It's 12 turns, and the Uruks have got to break the gate and then get 10 models through them. The gate's defense 8 and 1 wound. So the fact that the causeway is 6 inches wide means that Aragorn and Gimli will struggle to cover the whole thing between them. So you can either try and gang up on Aragorn and Gimli and try and kill them, which is not too likely because they start with the 3 attacks and far too much might.
Well, Aragorn's only defense 5, though.
Well, I don't know if it's 6 in this because he'll have 6, armor.
Yeah.
But it's the same to wound regardless because it's strength 4.
Yeah. I don't know if there's some special rule from the campaign carrying over from previous ones, like maybe he's down from might or something if he loses the previous scenario, maybe.
Yeah, if it's part of a campaign, you might have a realistic chance of killing them, but otherwise, I would just say tie them up with 3 models each to make it very difficult for them to heroic combat.
Just go for
just go for the gate. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And following that, it's fall back to the keep. So it's again. All part of the film. Just watch the 2 towers. It's got some pretty cool special rules. Again, each time a warrior is slain, keep it to one side. At the end of the evil move phase, any models kept aside in this manner may move onto the board from the centre of the southern board edge. And we stand together. Théoden and Gamling may not escape the board until any one of Aragorn, Legolas, or Gimli has escaped the board first. So it's quite a I don't know what the right word is, but it's quite a cool scenario in that regard.
Mm-hmm. Well, I played a similar scenario when I was doing my own little run through the whole Lord of the Rings campaign, or I've written a rough similar scenario myself, and end up basically coming down to a load of Uruk-hai slowly trying to plough the way through the doorway and get in, and Aragorn just managing to get his heroic comet off and save it in the nick of time. Right.
Yeah, so the participants are basically what you see at the end of 2 towers. Ride out, very iconic moment where they all find horses in Helm's Deep. Where do they keep the horses? Has anyone ever wondered that?
There is a stable which is linked to that area. So there's a bit where you go in through the front gate of Helm's Deep and you turn right.
Okay.
And then it leads down to a tunnel, and that sort of links into the network of buildings and caves behind the fortress, which you also get through the back gate there. So I'm not sure why that wasn't where the Uruks flooded through, but I've seen a really nice schematic, I believe, from a Weta design book where they cut away like the mountain and the roof, and they show you the interior, and there is a nice big stables in there.
Well, there you go. There's my question answered. A bit of CJ dropping a knowledge bomb on us.
Just cheat code, but
A cheat code, indeed. Following that, we have the classic scene where Éomer and Gandalf appear on the top of the hill and charge down and wreck shop. And then finally, the Battle of Helm's Deep. So I'm guessing this is after that.
This is what CJ's really been wanting.
Yep. Because my favourite scenario of all time ever was the one at the back of the Two Towers sourcebook from like 2006, which had a full battle. 1,500 points each. Yeah, this is separate. So the old one was 1,500 points each, and at turn 12, you move Gandalf and Éomer and about 16 riders on. Right. And so the evil side basically had to kill Gandalf, Aragorn, and Theoden, and you just had to wipe out the evil side as the good side. Right. And you kept getting reinforcements until Gandalf turned up, and then whatever you had was what you had left. And it had all these nice little rules, like where from turn 8 onwards, Theoden can move behind the gate and touch a stables and get mounted. And then he and Aragorn and Legolas and Gamling and riders can go out and charge the ones outside. Basically, yeah, the incentive for that was if you didn't do it, then Gandalf's relief force was going to get pretty much overwhelmed. Right. But anyway, that was my favourite. This
one seems to be objective based. Sorry, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It seems very much in the same vein. There's a lot of those similar rules in there. Like it's got like at the end of start of the 8th turn, anyone within 6 inches of the horner gets a horse.
Right.
It's got 10th move phase. The relief force arrives. There's the bomb for like detonating the culvert.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very similar idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very cool. And then we move on to another. I guess this is the one we've been talking about anyway, is the defense of Edoras.
Well, we've got to put Kieran in his place.
So you've got, essentially you've got the Dunlendings, led by some of their new heroes that we're going to talk about later, with Elfhelm and some captains, and then just a load of warriors. So it's a foot-on-foot action. There is Wild Riders, actually. So...
Well, I'd imagine the Warg Riders, once you've got the gate down, you can just try to swarm through.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any gate. I can't spot any walls either.
There's a gate on the scenario.
Flat bang in the
Yep, I've missed it.
So I think we'll have to invest in a palisade kit and make the board look really cool for this one. But so this is one that's
got that, hasn't he?
I think we're getting it. Yeah, I think we're getting it with our. We couldn't get hold of a stronghold kit. I think Jack's ordered as much as he can for the same sort of price, with a discount. So we might end up with a very similar amount of stuff, to be honest.
Well, we've got virtually the same, but minus one house for 157 from a friendly local gaming store with a charitable discount on pre-orders. And then to make up for the 6th house that's gone missing, I am going to build a Hall of Mediceld.
Yeah, you're going to say you're going to do a big build, aren't you?
I put a post out on GBHL saying, look, I'm excited to do a terrain project, but I'm struggling to work out the dimensions. And then a flood of people came back with look at here's what we've built and here's how we went about it, which is a fantastic aspect to the GBHL community. But a friend of the channel, Mr. Kieran, have we ever had him on this podcast?
Mr. Hatton?
Yeah.
My Padawan learner?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we have, actually.
He offered to come on today, but I kind of screwed him a little bit by saying I couldn't do Saturday.
Well, he got in touch with me and said there's a whole instruction step by step in like Battle Games in Middle-earth issue number 51. I never had that. I never
find my copy. I have got them all, but I just don't know where they are.
So he took the time to go and photograph all of the instructions in good resolution for me, retook a lot of them when the text didn't come through, spent considerable time and effort finding the magazine and getting me all of the stuff. So we're going to say a shout out to him.
What a lad.
Also, I don't know if you've done the other shout out to James for like offering to paint up all the scenery for us and do it all.
When we mentioned, so basically me, Jack and James we have a little group chat that we recently made because we were discussing plans for a couple of boards for the league next year. Well, not even just the league, for the EAHC next year. And we originally had around £110, I believe, from saved up from league events this year. And we originally planned to do a Harad board, a Shire board, and then see what was left after that. But because obviously this new Rohan scenery all got released yesterday when we were recording this, we all looked at it and said, yeah, we have to do a big board. I mean, there's enough scenery potentially for 2 boards theoretically. So, you know, but when we couldn't get hold of a stronghold because they sold out super quick, we then discussed just getting as much of it as we could, and then CJ offered to build, as he said, Medicel. So technically, we'll probably have as much of the littler bits of terrain, and then we'll have a stonking big centerpiece as well. So that'll be really cool. And yeah, thank you to... He's getting a plug again. I think this is every episode. James Richardson, the friend of the channel, Paintbrush Pirate. Follow him on YouTube. I think he's over 1,000 subs now, so we can't even really plug him anymore. He should plug us in his next video, really.
Yeah, you did that, James?
But yeah, that's... James has very kindly offered to paint all that up and base it all up for us. So some point 2020, we will have a brand new Rohan board. Back to scenarios. Last March of the Ents.
Yeah. We've finally got some Ent heroes other than Treebeard.
Treebeard.
Yep. Which is really exciting. We've got Quick Beam and Beachbone, who I think basically are the only other named Ents in the book off the top of my head. And while we're there, I just want to say the other, like for the Eagles at the end of Return of the King, and it's like saying Gandalf got Gwai here to take him to Mount Doom, and with him went Meneldor the Swift and his brother Landroval, Gwai his brother. And I'm just saying, right, we need those as named Eagles. But actually, the points value for the Ent heroes, without giving them directly away, are actually quite intelligently picked, so that now there are combinations of the Ent heroes and just basic Ents which allow you to do like 300, 350, 400, all the way up to, I think 650 might not be there, but just like every other sort of common tournament points level, there is now a combination that you can play, which doesn't mean that you're playing 40, 50 points down every time, which is a really nice bit of list engineering.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as you said, it gives you that option in terms of list versatility. And it's nice just to have, I guess, if you were to do if anyone owns a lot of Ents up to 1,000 points, you could definitely do that now. So
you do Quick Beam, Beachbone, and Treebeard with Merry and Pippin together are a solid 500 points. So
you told me that the other day, actually. Yeah, you told me that yesterday.
That's a nice little army there for a 500-point event.
That's pretty horrible, ain't it?
9 might, yeah.
Plus means you need to kill Treebeard to be able to stand a good chance of like breaking them.
Well, they're all hard to kill. They're all the same.
Well, because there's going to be 5 of them, you've got to kill Merry and Pippin ideally, and that means you've got to get rid of Treebeard as well.
Well, Merry and Pippin can't be targeted until they either dismount or you knock them over or something. So, yeah, you basically just got to kill all the Ents, and then the hobbits fall down, and then you kill them.
That's hideous. That's
or
horrible.
Shoot them with a Morgul arrow.
You're horrible.
I guess you could magic them still, so yeah.
Ents still do not have like a vulnerability to fire attacks, which I often thought they probably should do. There's enough fire-based. There's Sauron, Balrog, Saruman, Kardush. There are plenty of dragon. There's Smaug. There are plenty of profiles that have access to fire-based weaponry, and the Balrog sets a precedent for fire-based weaponry by saying he is immune to all fire-based attacks. Yeah. So I don't know. Just for a fluffy standpoint, I always thought the Ents should have had that as a vulnerability.
Scenario does have flaming arrows that cause 2 wounds instead of 1.
Nasty.
We then move on to the Uruk-hai retreat, which I believe is from the extended film, right?
Yeah.
Where you see the Uruks running away from Helm's Deep back through Fangorn, and then they get eaten by the forest, I guess.
Yeah.
It essentially just sounds like a stomping game on the Borups.
Yeah. Pass of Duradin. So this is the part in the books. Part of the books.
Yeah, the books like they go through the forest to avoid like a blockade of Easterlings, I think.
Yeah. So you've got Theoden, Aemir, Eowyn, Gamling, Gambrigan, and the Woses. So it's that part where they meet up and walks them through. And then it goes into the campaign. So the scenario bonuses and what you get for each, depending on how the scenario's gone, the pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move on to armies.